What's up, guys? Welcome back to another season of the Fantasy Slant. We are going to get at it again this year, like we have every single year. Jim, unfortunately, has decided to retire from the show. And John is in the parking lot at the Cincinnati Bengals game right now. So I don't know if he's going to log on or not, but he flew out there to support his terrible Patriots. Why, I don't know, but that's between him and God. So I think it's going to be me today, but that's okay. We haven't got to talk in a while, not since the draft. So jump on. Tell me how excited you are about football being back, what you think of the game so far, what you think your team's going to do. Get it going in the comments. Let's have some fun discussions this morning as we prep and get ready for this week's games. So as we're getting rolling, we need to talk about what's happened so far, right? So some big plays Thursday and Friday night, big players really taking a step forward, and people you should be really taking a look at as things are getting ready to go into week two. Obviously, Isaiah Likely is probably going to be one of your biggest targets going into week one. Now, we're going to have some injuries today. Things are going to change, right? But right now, it's an intriguing play with Isaiah Likely, and it's a hard one to really give advice on because it's the Ravens, right? And their offense operates in such a manner that you don't know who the week to week guy is, right? So we saw Isaiah Likely last year come in when Andrews went down with that terrible injury. He was a recommendation to pick up several times, but it never really turned into what we saw the other night. So it's really hard to predict. Like, there was a lot of hype last year. We thought Isaiah Likely could do what he did Thursday night. But at the same time, is that a fluke or is that something that's going to be sustainable? Mark Andrews got very little attention. He is coming off of a big injury, maybe not full speed, maybe not 100%. How does that shift as he gets healthier and healthier? But again, the Ravens are a very hard offense to figure out because they don't have a true number one. They spread things very well. They run the ball quite a bit as well. So it's a very hard offense to figure out, right? But if you need a tight end, if you sat back and waited on tight end like I did, like a lot of other people do, once those big three are gone, you kind of let that position fade to the rear, right? So a really interesting piece to pick up in waivers this week. He's going to be a hot commodity, have no doubt, because tight end is such a thin position, but definitely somebody you should be looking at. On the opposite side of tight end on that team is Xavier Worthy. Really came out and had one hell of a game in his debut in the NFL. I do own him in one team, and I did not start him, unfortunately. Figured I'd take a flyer on him, see what we get. And man, he's fast, right? Fast, explosive player. He's going to be creeping into some starting lineups moving forward, and he may possibly be out there as well to be picked up. I know he went late in a lot of drafts. There might be some drafts that he slipped through the cracks and nobody grabbed him. So definitely a good piece to look at. I've even got I've already gotten some trade offers for him already, which is pretty crazy. I'm not sure which way I want to go with it. If he's going to get that kind of attention in that type of offense, that could be a player that I'm going to be plugging into some starting lineups. So I really need to evaluate that, but check and see if he's out there because those might be two really nice ads, and you want to grab those players early. Don't drop anybody after week one that shouldn't be dropped, right? I mean, we saw how slow things kind of started out the year. Play took a little while to get going. It's always sloppy in the first couple weeks because half these guys haven't played. So don't get crazy. Don't drop people that shouldn't be dropped in weeks 1, 2, and 3. Week 4, let's start talking about the guys that are not performing. But until then, hold on to your guys. Pick up some nice flyers. I think those are two really nice ones. Alex, good morning, my man. It's been a little while since we talked. I'm glad to see you back again. Chase or Eckler for the flex? I think you got to go with Chase on this one. No T. Higgins today. I think that offense is going to, they're going up against a fantastic matchup against the Patriots. So I think they're going to handle it pretty well. I know you have a love for Eckler, but I don't know what Eckler's going to do. I picked him up late in some drafts as well, as a kind of a hold and see if he bounces back to what he was. I don't know if they're going to feature him 100%. I'm not sure what that split's going to look like there in Washington. So that's a hard one to really pin down. But with no T Higgins, Chase should see a lot. He didn't get that contract extension before the season started. We'll see if he's pissed off about it and starts putting up some big plays, some big numbers to say you better sign me or you're not going to afford me. Um, but I would go with Chase. I think he's in a really good spot against a really bad Patriots team. Um, and with the injuries that they have, I I think Chase is going to be a good one. They probably won't really pull away, with the injuries that they have, and being week one, it'll probably be closer than a lot of people are expecting it to be, because of that sloppy play and stuff like that. So Addison also, he's a watch for me. I'm the same as you. I don't trust that offense up there, but then again, they've got some good players. That offense could operate, but even when Sam Darnold stepped in last year in San Francisco, he did not look good at all. So he just might be a bad player, right? So I think at this point we could just say he's probably not going to be anything elite. So I would keep an eye on Addison and Eckler in week one. I think you start your stud with Chase, and especially with that depleted offense around him, he's going to be a main target. Even if he doesn't go off for any big plays, he could end up having 10, 12 catches, just in the game alone, even if it doesn't equate to huge yards because of some injuries slowing him down. He's going to be a target monster, and nobody on New England can cover him. So I think that's the way to go. Keep an eye on Eckler. I'm going to be keeping an eye on Eckler. I want to see if he could bounce back from that terrible performance he had last year. Because if he could, he'll very easily take the number one running back spot there in Washington. He's talent wise by far the best, but is he regressing or was that just a fluke year? So go with Chase. Keep an eye on the other two. I'm going to be as well. I think those offenses and the way that they operate going forward is going to be something to keep an eye on, especially if you've got Justin Jefferson. That could be a bad thing, or I don't know. Maybe Sam Darnold figures it out, like Geno Smith just took 7 or 8 years, and then all of a sudden it clicks. So, two offenses to really keep an eye on is Washington and Minnesota, to see what type of fantasy relevance you're going to get out of that. So, so I would go with Chase. End of story. But yeah. So as we're going through this, that Eagles Packers game, fantastic game, right down to the wire. The Brazil games, they should not happen again. That should be a one and done. That was pretty bad. The play calling was, or the announcers were pretty horrible as well. But just a really weird feel in that game. It just didn't have the right energy. Felt really weird. Players are slipping and sliding all over the place, which was weird. But man, coming down to that toe, what a game in the Ravens one as well. I mean, you had the toe tap there that just missed, and then a very very late comeback attempt for the Packers gets squashed there with that horrible Jordan Love injury. Another thing to keep an eye on. If you've got Packers players, I would expect Jacobs to get a huge uptick now. If you could trade for him, that's if you need a running back. They're not going to trust Malik Willis to throw the ball. So if you can go get Josh Jacobs, that's a great play, because it's looking like Jordan Love's going to be out. They're saying 3 to 6 weeks. Even when he comes back from that MCL sprain, they'll probably still take a few weeks to really get back to full strength. So that's going to be something as well to keep an eye on. So if you can pick up Josh Jacobs in a trade, I would definitely say take a look at it and grab him, because he is going to be a workhorse for the next couple weeks, trying to keep the Packers above water. Looks like John's jumping in from the parking lot. So let's grab John, bring him in, see what the tailgating is like in Cincy.
I can't hear you. Am I on?
Hey, John, you got me?
I can't really hear you, but let me show you some vibes right now, brother. I mean, the sea of orange, my friend. Just the sea of orange.
Yeah.
It is amazing. The vibe is intense. Every Bengals fan, like the Jets fan, thinks they're going to win, and they'll be disappointed as usual, like you. I mean, there's some good people here, brother. Really good.
Nice. How's the weather?
The weather is amazing. It's like probably 65 to 70. Beer is flowing like water or wine, I should say, whatever they want to call it. You know, and let me see if I can flip this around, brother, so you can see. I can't. But yeah, the stadium is right behind me, brother. So if you can see it, past the Bud Light sign, you can see Paycor Stadium. It's good vibe. We're gonna head in the next couple minutes. So Shaney and my son-in-law are on the practice field right now because Shaney knows a guy who's here with the Patriots. So they actually got to go on the field to watch warm-ups and stuff like that. So what a great time!
Awesome. Yeah, that's cool. So what's your prediction for the game?
So now that Chase is playing, I'm a little bit less optimistic. But here's what I'm going to say, Joe. I'm not predicting a Patriots win by any means. But what I will say is, if any time the Patriots are going to pull an upset, it's right now. So here's why. And I always give the why. Joe Burrow hasn't played in a year. Chase hasn't practiced all camp long, and now he's playing. T. Higgins is out. Zach Moss is a question mark. And, I mean, I know what we got with Brissett, but nobody knows what the Patriots receivers can do, so everything's brand new. So if any week, and I'm not saying we're going to beat Cincy, but if there's a week we can squeak out a win, it's week one because a lot of unknowns, my friend.
Yeah. I'll give you that. I mean, if there's a week to win, it's this one. You know, week one is always slow, sloppy play. Everybody's kind of getting back into the swing of things. So, yeah. So with injuries, I think you're right.
And matchup-wise, they're not going to win. It's not a great matchup, but I'll tell you what. Biggest double-team Chase and make someone else beat you. That's all I'm going to. If I'm the head coach, I'll be like, I want 3 people on Chase at all times and make a 3rd and 4th receiver actually beat us. But I do think Zach Moss is the wild card. I think he's going to be tough to contain out of the backfield. He's good. He played great with Indy last year when Taylor was out. So we'll see. We'll see. But if Brissett throws the ball over 35 times, we are going to get shellacked. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. If you're playing from behind, you're not going to be in a good spot in this game. Like, significantly.
I want Ramondre to have, and I know this is a big ask, I want Ramondre to have 30-plus carries today. I know it won't happen, but that tells me we're controlling the ball and dictating the game, right? So that's what I want.
Yeah, definitely. So, all right. Any bold predictions in fantasy that you like for the week?
So I'll tell you what. Now that Wilson's out, I'll tell you what. Start Fields. I think Fields is going to go nuts. Wilson will not see the field again this year. He just blew his chance to play. Because I'll tell you what, Fields is going to go out there with a good offensive line, a good defense. Warren out the backfield. I would start. In fact, I am starting Warren in DFS now because he's going to need to dump it out. So Pickens, I'm not a big fan of for Pittsburgh, but I mean, I don't know if it's any surprise, but I think Alvin Kamara is going to have 10-plus catches today. I got him in DFS against Carolina. And my sleeper is Deontay Johnson. I mean, let's face it. Who does Carolina have to throw to? Or he's going to open it up for Thielen. But I still wouldn't trust the Carolina offense.
Yeah, no, you can't trust Carolina. Until they show you something, they're definitely hard to trust.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know.
All right, Joe T, we're going to head to the stadium. Yeah. I'll tell you what, man, I'll shoot you a text as we're in there if you're still on. But Happy week one, man. This is greatest time of the year. We all start fresh. Even the Jets started fresh today.
Yep. All right. Well, have fun and stay safe, and we'll talk to you when we do next week.
All right, thanks, brother. And I'll be back on next week with you, my friend.
All right. Take it easy, buddy.
Yeah, not a bad. They played Western Michigan.
All right. So there we go. Quick update. Quick update there from John. So yeah, so we'll keep running through some of the games to come. Get your questions in. Drop what you've got. Week one is really, really hard because you're going to start your studs, right? So a lot of the conversation is going to be about, where can you pivot on some of these, and really, drop your thoughts in. Like Alex, if you're still here, what are the Chargers going to do this year? Really tough team to predict, right? I mean, running back, significant downgrade. Wide receiver across the board, significant downgrade. Justin Herbert coming back from his injury. What are you going to see coming out the gate? Is the defense going to step it up? Is that going to continue to be the weak link for the Chargers? Like, there's a lot going into week one that we're optimistic about, and there's a lot that, as a fan, you're making it a little rosier than maybe, right? So, what are some of your predictions? I was in a Seattle Seahawks post where I don't remember, it was one of the things around here was asking what the predicted record was. And most Seattle fans think that they're going to win 10 plus games this year, which to me seems absolutely ridiculous. But there's no way I could see Seattle winning 10 games, not in that division. And they got a really tough schedule. So really, really tough, but soft schedule the first couple games, but then it really, really steps up and gets hard. So, a lot of teams, we're all optimistic. Every year I go into it saying, well, no, not every year, but last 2 years, Jets could win the playoffs or win the Super Bowl and get to the playoffs and actually have a run if Aaron Rodgers can stay healthy. Team's fantastic, right? But if he goes down and we got to rely on Tyrod Taylor, forget it. It's done. It's over. Best case scenario, we win 7-8 games. So everything hinges on the quarterback. It's a quarterback league. So Alex, I just want the Chargers to compete and Herbert to stay healthy. This is always going to be, yeah. So with Herbert though, that's getting into one of those. They paid him, right? I mean, and he puts up numbers, but he doesn't win, right? So that, I mean, to me as a Chargers fan, I know you love him, Alex, but as a Chargers fan or just an NFL fan, like you see Burrow having a little bit more success. He's gotten to, the Super Bowl. They've played well, but you haven't seen that from the Chargers. You've seen great fantasy production, great numbers, but you haven't been able to see Justin Herbert win games. Like, here's the ball, go win the game, right? Like that. We haven't really seen. Like that's something that's going to get really interesting to watch here as we're coming into the next year or two. Is he the guy, or is he just somebody who can chuck the rock, right? Like that's a huge piece that I think is going to be big for the Chargers. And then they've got to retool around him, like you were talking about, and give some weapons. Like the guy's got such a fantastic arm and great out of pocket presence where he can make some real plays happen. But now they got rid of everybody from Eckler to Williams to Keenan Allen. Tight ends are questionable. Like there's, you're relying on rookie wide receivers and, late round guys and Josh Palmer and stuff like that. So really, it's going to be something to watch, right? And yeah, their defenses have been bad, but they just blow a lot of games too. Like that's the other weird thing. Coaching has been questionable over the years, and they're in a really, really tough division outside of the Raiders. But well, no, they're actually not anymore, are they? Yeah, Broncos, they're going to suck this year, and the Raiders suck every year. So you guys aren't that bad of a division. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch. I think a few other really good games, like John was just alluding to, is that Steelers game now with Fields coming in. Falcons have improved across the board. They've gotten better on defense, offense, and especially quarterback. So that's going to be something to watch. I think Justin Fields is a nice play today. He's going to have to use his legs to keep them in this game. So Justin Fields is a nice play, not in standard fantasy, but if you're doing DFS, really nice plug and play there, probably dirt cheap in DFS to add him in there. And if the Falcons' offense is as good as advertised with the weapons that they have, Steelers are going to have to throw the ball, or Justin Fields is going to make things happen with his legs. So Justin Fields is going to be a really nice fantasy play, I think, this week. Going into the Cardinals and Bills, I'm really interested to watch this, not only as a Jets fan, but what are the Bills going to be now, right? I mean, they lost a lot of players, and nobody's really talking about this. Everybody is still like, oh, the Bills are the team to beat. I don't think they are anymore, but they're still ranked in the top 10, even the top 5 from some of the power rankings that I've seen. How they're a top 5 team, I don't know. Josh Allen's fantastic. I get that. Their wide receiver core is completely gutted. Running backs, we'll see what James Cook is. He could be good. I don't know. He's had a couple good flashes. He's looked pretty decent in some spots, but is he a full workhorse running back, or is he a complimentary? He's going to need some breaks, and do they have the support to be able to operate that offense? I don't know. Defense also lost a lot of players. I just feel like that window has shut now, and the Bills are going to take a massive step back. Cardinals are going to be really fun to watch this year. I can't wait to see what Marvin Harrison does in the NFL. It's been kind of quiet. I haven't seen a lot of news out of Arizona's camp or anything, but that's going to be a fun one to watch. And with the Bills defense coming down, Kyler Murray likes to chuck it. He likes to run, and he has got such a fantastic wide receiver there in Marvin Harrison that he could really turn into something fantastic. So I'm really excited for that. I need to lower this volume. Okay, so with that said, he's going to look really, really good, and I'm really excited to see that. That's going to be a fun one to watch. Get my volume right here. Perfect. Okay, so that game is going to be close. I think a lot of people they've got Buffalo by 6.5. I think Arizona can stick. It's not a bad weather game. They are traveling to Buffalo. It's an early game. I always said I don't like those, but as much as I keep tracking that, it seems like it doesn't really lend a lot of relevance anymore. So keep an eye on the Cardinals-Bills game. I think that one's going to be a lot closer than you think, and I would not be surprised if the Cardinals make a statement and come out and beat Buffalo week 1. Kind of like John was saying with the Patriots, if there's a week to steal a victory, it's week 1, right? I mean, especially in a lot of these questionable teams. So keep an eye there. I think that's going to be a really nice fit. Going down a little bit further, Titans, Bears, obviously everybody's huge high on the Bears. I don't know if that's going to be a good thing or a bad thing. I don't fully believe in Caleb Williams yet. He's somebody to keep an eye on. I just feel like he's a lot cockier than he should be going into this. I wish they were playing a tougher team coming out the gate than the Titans. I would have loved to see them open up with something different, the Lions, somebody in division that's got a really good defense. I want to see what Caleb Williams does when he's not playing vanilla defenses in preseason that aren't really getting after him. But when you have Aiden Hutchinson coming around the edge and smacking you in the mouth, can you still play as good as you think you can, right? We see a lot of first-round talent come out and start the year, and they look fantastic in preseason. They look fantastic in practice. You see it every year. Then you get into the games where they start scheming against you, where they start disguising coverages, and the mistakes start happening, the confidence starts going down, and everything falls apart, right? And which is why we talk about a lot, like, stop rushing these guys to the starting position. We'll get to Denver, but all of these first-round guys just continue to go in and start, and 90% of them fail because the NFL it's such a learning curve. It's such a big step going from college to the pros. It's a hard thing to just step right in as a quarterback and not have any type of issues. So I'm interested to see what he does as things get tough. He's got nice weapons this year. The Bears look primed. If he can develop into something, great. But if they hit some roadblocks early, what does it do to their season and his confidence and his ability to play? So definitely a game to keep an eye on. Chicago is a 4-point favorite in that one. at home against the Titans. They should be able to win this one. Hopkins is a little bit hobbled, but not too bad. But another thing that I'm keeping an eye on is Spears there for the Titans running back. I did grab him late in some drafts. If he might be out there for some of the deeper leagues, probably not, but smaller leagues, he was kind of overlooked, and I don't think the Titans really know which way they're going to go with the running back position, but he looked really good when he spelled Derrick Henry last year. He's gone, as we know. Henry up in Baltimore now looked fantastic. So did Saquon, by the way. All the people bashing on how bad Saquon was, he looked pretty damn good for the Eagles, and I thought that was going to happen. But keep an eye on Spears there in Tennessee today and see what he does. I actually plugged him into my flex in one league just for the possible upside against the Bears. Really like that. So Patriots, Bengals. Again, John thinks the Patriots could win. The Bengals should handle this one pretty easy. They're 7.5 point favorites, but a very low 40-point over-under, which tells me that they don't expect the Patriots to score maybe at all. I don't know. So we'll see on that one. But with Jamar Chase playing, he's hard. How do you not start him, right? He's had some bad games last year, some really slow starts. He's notoriously slow at starting the season out. So don't let that derail you if you've got it. But he's primed to explode at any moment. So that's going to be a fun one to watch as well. I'm going to be keeping an eye on that. I'm hoping, as a Jets fan, that the Patriots get the doors blown off them. And if John's still watching, he's probably laughing. But it's time. So next up, Texans and the Colts. This is probably another game that a lot of NFL fans are going to keep an eye on, right? So you've got CJ Stroud versus Anthony Richardson, back from his injury last year, looked really good in he played 3 or 4 games before he went down, looked really good. Was that a fluke? Was that a preview of what's to come? Like, that's going to be all eyes today. CJ Stroud will also be a key piece to what happens this year. So we're going to find out a lot, right? Is the sophomore slump is a real thing. Teams now know his tendencies. They know how he likes to play, what he looks for. They know, they studied all off season. They know what to look for. They know how to scheme against him. This is a division game. So the Colts saw him twice already. So they have a lot of game film on him. So does the sophomore slump become a real thing? Is that something that they're going to have to battle through? We've seen it year after year with quarterbacks taking that step back in year 2. And then hopefully he's taking that step forward in year 3. But man, CJ Stroud looked fantastic. Anthony Richardson, both of them looked great in their rookie years. So will that be sustained in year 2? That's going to be a huge question. But the Texans, Tank Dell, Nico Collins, who I've loved since they've drafted, really took a big step forward and looks fantastic. Number 1 wide receiver without a doubt. And the addition of Stephon Diggs, that's going to be another big piece to watch. Was last year, again, one of those fluke things, or are we watching the beginning of the end of Stephon Diggs' career, right? So that's going to be an interesting one to watch as well. But the nice thing is the Texans, from a fantasy standpoint, have got weapons everywhere, and you can legit start all 3 of those wide receivers. They also have John Mechie, who was out his rookie year with the skin cancer thing that he had to clear up. Did that, unfortunately for him. Nico, Tank, and now Stephon Diggs came in, and what is that impact going to look like? But they legitimately have 4 wide receivers that will start on any team in above where they're at, right? Like, those are all number 1, number 2 wide receivers potentially. So fantastic situation for them. And they also have Dalton Schultz at tight end, who is a really underrated tight end. And he's going to be a target again for the Texans as well. Tight ends, like we talked about, a really tough position to predict and to plan for and to draft in fantasy. Because if you're not getting Kelsey, if you're not getting Andrews, and you're not getting Kittle, After that, it really does start to drop. I know Trey McBride is a big projected tight end this year. See what he does in Arizona as well. But man, it really drops off after that. So a lot of mouths to feed in Texas there, but not a bad play if Schultz is out there, because you do expect that offense to be pretty good. I do not love Joe Mixon going there. I don't like him as a running back. Dameon Pierce had a big drop off last year as well in yards per carry. But this offense is going to run through CJ Stroud. So I think that's a good one to watch. The Colts, again, Michael Pittman, very underrated and undervalued wide receiver. I know he goes pretty high in drafts, but when you talk about wide receivers, his name is not usually in the conversation of a top wide receiver, but he puts up fantastic numbers. He's going to be the primary guy there, and he's going to help Anthony Richardson out quite a bit. The other piece to that I really want to see is Jonathan Taylor really take that step forward. I mean, he was on a moonshot trajectory coming out the gates, dealt with some injuries, just a lot of bad things that happened last year to that Colts team. But I really want to see him bounce back. I love him. The talent is phenomenal there. He was going a little too high in drafts for my comfort, so I didn't get him at all this year. I have no doubt that the talent's there, but until I can actually see him respond back to what he did as rookie and sophomore years, it's really hard to make a prediction on what Jonathan Taylor is going to do. And if you're really comfortable taking him first round, really early second round, if he's going to continue to regress. But I don't think he's going to. I just wasn't 100% comfortable with the names that were around him. I just felt we're in better situations and a little bit more proven. But huge years for both of these teams in the division. This is a big statement game. If the Colts get upset, that's going to be big for them. And it's really going to put eyes on what the Texans can do. If they score a bunch of points on them, that offense takes off flying. That's going to generate a lot of hype, even more than they've already got. So continuing on, we got Jaguars traveling to the Dolphins. Everybody's seen the news by now of Tyreek getting arrested and sat down on the sidewalk there. I have no idea how you recklessly drive to that extent when you're pulling into the stadium. Like, that's not an easy area to get through. And then start mouthing off to the cops. Really not a great idea. But it was so nice that the employees came out and got him back to work, which most places would take you to jail. So, so verbal altercation there. He's going to play today. Probably not going to have any effect on anything, but this is another fun one to watch because the Jaguars are another team. They signed Trevor Lawrence to an extension in the offseason, gave him that new contract. Is he going to take that step forward, right? I mean, he was the prodigy, the prodigal child, the next Andrew Luck, the next Peyton Manning. We've seen some flashes from him that have looked great. We've also seen a lot of mediocre play. Being down there in Jacksonville, that's an easy place to just hide out, right? You're never in the news. Nothing's ever in the news. I complained about it for years. Zach Wilson gets trashed up and down New York, and the number one pick in the draft was not playing well, and nobody even talks about any of his struggles or anything like that. So, nice thing about playing in Jacksonville is nobody knows you play in Jacksonville. So, what's going to happen with that team this year? I think they have to be better. You guys know, if you've been watching, I love Travis Etienne. I've loved him right out of the draft. They have not utilized him the way that they should be utilizing him. But we saw an uptick last year, and hopefully we see him take over as a seriously featured piece of the offense. He can catch, he can run, he can do all of it. He's a better version to me of peak Austin Eckler. He's better than that, is what I believe, because he's got a little bit more size. But his overall talent, I think, is a little bit better than Austin Eckler, but he's got the same skill set. They just don't use it. Like, utilize Travis Etienne. He will make things happen. Love that guy. And I'd love to see that Jaguars offense really take off. They just have so many good pieces and just haven't been able to put it together. The Dolphins are also going to be a tough team. They start out hot every year. They kind of fade down the back stretch there, but Tua's looking good. Tariq is still Tariq. even arrested or not, even with handcuffs on. He's probably still one of the best wide receivers in the league. He could catch him behind his back, I have no doubt. Jalen Waddle, fantastic. They're wide receivers. That's a 1-2 punch that really hits hard. And they're just they're a good team, right? On paper, they're a good team. Defense looks good as well. So can the Jaguars overcome that today? They have to travel to Miami. Not a huge trip, but it is a home game for the Dolphins. So really like it. They're only giving Miami 3.5 points, which tells you that Vegas doesn't quite know which way it's going to go. Either high 49.5 total points. So expecting some really nice scoring in this game. Really nice one to focus on from a DFS standpoint. I think there's going to be a lot of back and forth here. But start your studs in this one. Start Travis Etienne. I think he's going to be a feature. And if you want to beat the Dolphins, that's the guy that's going to do it for you. Yeah, keep an eye on both sides. This is going to be an explosive game to watch. That's going to be my prediction on this. I'm going to go the over on 50 in this one. So, again, guys, if you're watching, if you're on the fence on anything, get your questions in. Let me know what your team is or who your team is and what you think they're going to do this year. Like hearing from the fans around the country and get some insight into what all of your teams are doing. You guys are digging much deeper into it than a lot of us are. So let me know. I think the Jets are going to win the division, maybe have a Super Bowl run. We'll see. But playoffs, as long as Rodgers could stay healthy, playoffs I think are a definite. Team looks fantastic. So I'm super excited. I cannot wait for tomorrow. I hate that it's a Monday night out the gate because I want to get it going, but sit back and watch all your teams play and have some fantasy success. But let me know, who's your team? What are they looking like this year? What's your prediction for their record at the end of the season? Continuing on, Saints and Panthers, nothing really that I love here. Alvin Kamara, John was talking up. He'll probably have a good game. I guess what you want to see is Young take a step forward for that Panthers offense and start producing and start developing and showing that development. You're the number one pick. They just knew last year was going to suck. Not a lot of pressure on him to do a lot of anything. So that pressure is going to start to mount, especially with the success CJ Stroud had. You got to start doing something here. So that's going to be a piece to watch, but that Panthers offense is just nothing spectacular. So not a lot going on there. I feel bad for them as well. What a tough way to start. Saints always find a way to be competitive. I don't really love Derek Carr, but that's a team that's, I think is going to be a middle of the road team. Panthers are going to be below average again. Nothing crazy here. Nothing I would really, really target. Start Kamara if you have him against the Panthers. Otherwise, probably stay away from it if you're real low on tight end and you don't have a good starting tight end. Maybe picking up Hill there to run out of the backfield. They use him in a lot of different gadget ways, so that could be a good piece as well. If you need a tight end, he might be out there. I think he's out there in about half the leagues. So definitely take a look at picking up Taysom Hill if you need that. But not a bad sneaky play there, especially in DFS as well. That could be a nice play to save some money at tight end, especially with the big ones off the board from Thursday and Friday. So next up, Vikings-Giants. This is going to be a miserable one. And I don't know if you guys saw this, but they are debuting their 100-year anniversary, what do they call it? Century Red uniforms. The Giants are. They are one of the worst things I've seen outside of maybe Pittsburgh's throwback, the Charlie Brown ones. Those are pretty bad as well. This is it's bad, right? So, and I loved one of the comments that I read on there said that at least some of the bad play will be the attention on the bad play will be taken off of them by looking at their uniforms. So Giants are going to be bad this year. But again, on both sides of this ball, Alex, we talked about it early. Sam Darnold's running the Vikings. Man, if you got Justin Jefferson, you've got to start him. You just have to. He's fantastic. He's going to be force-fed. I have no doubt about that. But you don't really like what the Vikings offense is looking like right now. We saw Sam Darnold come in and take some snaps in San Francisco. Did not look good at all. Didn't look good with the Jets. Didn't look good in Carolina. It's just not going to be a great year for the Vikings. But Justin Jefferson's still going to get his fair share. I grabbed Jordan Addison in some late rounds there, just as a stash play, just to see what happens there. I don't know if I'll ever have the confidence to start him, but let's hope as the year goes on, it changes. With the Giants, Neighbors is going to be the focal point of that offense now. So is he going to be an elite wide receiver one? He has the talent to do it without a doubt, right? They unretired number one so he can wear it, which is insane for a rookie to have a number unretired for him. But that shows how much hope they have for him. And he's looked good in the videos that I've seen from practice and things that he looks really, really good. So he's going to be a play. And if you're going to play him, week one against this Vikings team might be the way to do it. Plug him into a flex spot, or if you need a third wide receiver, that's not a bad thing either. Probably cheap in DFS as well, with about 20 minutes left. He could be a nice plug and play guy in there to get you some points, because they've got to go to somebody, and he is probably going to be the feature guy there. So if you could pick him up cheap, throw him into your wide receiver 3 spot, that's a really good place to be with that. Okay. Getting down here to Alex's team, the Raiders, against the Chargers. Chargers are 3-point favorites, and again, a very low 40.5. I don't know if there's a lower point total than that. Nope, that is tied with the Patriots and Bengals for the lowest scoring games of the day. So not encouraging there, nor should it be. From a Raiders standpoint, like you can't really feel as much as you like Gardner Minshew. I get it. He's a fun guy. He's good to root for. Who doesn't love Uncle Rico? But he's not a great quarterback, right? I think you see a huge regression from Devontae Adams, and not a bad season, but for where you drafted him, is he going to put those numbers up? He went in the second round in, most leagues. There might have been people who reached for him in the first. You have crazy stuff like that in the draft, but second round pick, he's a fantastic wide receiver. There's no questioning that. It's just the offense. It struggled last year. He still put up decent numbers, but there's, to me, a worse quarterback in there. And that's really going to push a lot of questions to the forefront of what do we do with Devontae Adams, right? If you have him, the rumblings all offseason was that the Jets were going to trade for him. If the Raiders start out 0-4, something like that, 2-6, something down, even 3-3, like what are the Raiders going to do, right? Like, I guess if you're hovering around 500, they'll keep it and hope that things turn. But if they get off to a rough start, do they just say we're moving on, right? You trade him in October and move him to a good team, and then that's the case. And if he goes to the Jets and he's on the opposite side of Garrett Wilson with Aaron Rodgers, okay, you got a first round fantasy wide receiver there without a doubt. But the way it's set up now, I don't know if I love it. The flip side of that is the piece that I really want to watch is Brock Bowers. So first round draft pick this year. Historically, tight ends have the hardest time transitioning from the college to the NFL landscape. There's a lot more to learn, a lot more schemes to learn, and a lot more blocking and stuff that goes into it. With Brock Bowers, the talent is so fantastic. I think he's generational level. He's got to be featured out the gate. You got to be able to take some pressure off Devontae, and I think this is the guy that's going to do it. He did have an injury designation, but he is playing. So I want to see what Brock Bowers does. I wanted the Jets to draft him. We went O-line. I understand it. I don't have to love it, but I think Brock Bowers is going to be a fantastic tight end in the NFL. I just think the Raiders need a quarterback, and that's going to be their biggest drawback for the next year or so is can they get a quarterback to get in there and really take it to the next level? But nice pieces there. Keep an eye on Brock Bowers. See what he does today. Again, another guy that might be available in waivers. You might pick him up, stick him on the bench. just in case before it actually hits waivers. If he's still out there, grab him and stash him away for a week and see what he does against this Chargers defense, which, Alex, I'm sorry, but I don't love it. I don't think you do either. And until they can show that they can really step up and stop teams from scoring and winning late in games, I think you have to question it until you see it. So let's keep an eye on both of those. I want to see what Justin Herbert does in this offense. That's going to be another key piece. I don't know who he's going to throw it to. I have no idea, but it's going to get spread around. We know that with this Chargers offense, the ball is going to move around. So we'll figure out who emerges as that target. If it's going to be Josh Palmer, if it's going to be Ladd McConkey, whatever his name is, somebody's got to emerge out of this as the number one, right? So that is something to keep an eye on. Is who is the heaviest targeted wide receiver in week one? That could be a really nice pickup as well, because those guys may be out there as well. Broncos, Seahawks. Again, I keep saying this is a recurring theme. Another game to watch. Bo Nix traveling up here to Seattle, my neck of the woods. You're going to start your NFL career playing in Seattle. Like, that's a tough, loud, crazy stadium to play in. I don't know if I believe all of the news that came out about Bo Nix and being the best guy on the, for this team. I don't know if he is. It seemed like, it was a reach to get him in the draft. He's a very seasoned college quarterback, but still just jumping right in to the NFL level is huge. The Broncos offensive line is going to be by far their weakest link. Can they stop anybody? It even in the preseason, it looked like the Jets offensive line last year. It was terrible. People going through it like a turnstile. You're sticking Bo Nix back there to start a game in Seattle, loud as hell, with an offensive line that is extremely suspect. If he even makes it out of the game, we'll see what happens, right? But I still think I think Zach Wilson should be starting for the Broncos, and Bo Nix should be sitting and learning this year and then taking over next year. Like, you traded for Wilson. He's got 1 year left. This team is not competing. There's no way you're going to tell me that the Broncos are going to do anything in the division, much less in the AFC. It's going to be a bad year for them. Why put Bo Nix out there to destroy his confidence, to potentially get him hurt, and to not give him the time to sit back and learn? It doesn't make any sense. But if you're going to reach to draft somebody, don't just throw them out there to end their career. So that to me is going to be a disaster. The Broncos are going to be a disaster this year. The Seahawks win this one easy, I think. And 6.5 is probably too low of a spread, and a 41.5 over under. The Seahawks should be able to put up over probably 27. I'm going to put it at by themselves, if not break 30. So the big thing to watch is Tyler Lockett. How's his health going to be, and who is Patrick Surtain going to be shadowing, right? If he shadows DK Metcalf all game, do they shift more to a run and let Kenneth Walker take the reins on this one? Like, that's going to be something to watch. Love Kenneth Walker. Don't think they used him enough last year. They sprinkled in too much Chardonnay into that. So I hope they give Kenneth Walker the lead back role and let him actually be a 3-down back, because he has the talent to do it all day. And then rolling up the afternoon, Cowboys and Browns. Dak, congratulations on your huge, highest paid player ever. Still has less wins in the playoffs than Mark Sanchez does. So good for him on that paycheck. Unfortunately, the Cowboys will continue to come up short, without a doubt. And the Browns will be the Browns. Deshaun Watson, not a lot of great news coming out of Cleveland on his training camp. I don't really have a lot of optimism there. The running back situation, we'll see what Ward does there. I think he's going to be, or Ford's going to be good, but do you really feel confident about it? I don't know. Great thing about the Cowboys from fantasy perspective is they produce fantasy players. So Dak will be great. CD will be great. Zeke might be a sleeper going back there. There's not a lot of competition there, even though I know he's not great. He wasn't bad with New England last year, and that was a bad team. So going back to the Cowboys might be a little rejuvenated, not a lot of behind him to really worry about. So I think that's something to keep an eye on as well. I actually just picked him up off of the waiver wire this week. So a good stash. And I'm sorry, I'm going to stash a starting running back if he's sitting out there. Whether he performs or not, yet to come. But if he's sitting out there, he's the number one running back. Take him on a top offense. Like that should not happen. So take a look for that because I just grabbed him without even having to put a waiver claim in. But yeah, I think the Cowboys win this one. They've got Cleveland by 2.5. I just don't trust Deshaun Watson until he shows me otherwise. I'm going to go with the Cowboys to win this one. I think they take it, and again, a low 41 points. That seems like a gimme. It should be definitely over 41 points in this game. Both offenses are better than that. You can't tell me that they're both going to score under 20 points. I find that hard to believe, especially in a sloppy week one. Like week one's just a mess typically. So I expect higher scoring, and that's an easy win. Commanders, Buccaneers. Let's talk about this one. Jaden Daniels, he looked good. He did look good. I'm not going to stray away from what I said about Kalen Williams. I have a lot of trust issues, and Daniels is a running quarterback. He's an RG3 type, right? He likes to get out there. He likes to move around. I think he's a little less athletic than Lamar, but he's long. He's fast. He can move. I'm worried about him taking hits. I'm worried about him trying to run when he thinks, I think the defense is going to try to lure him into it and bottle him up. So he's looked good in training camp. He's looked good in preseason. I watched him against the Jets, the one drive that they let him play. Really nice passes, pinpoint, took advantage of openings. Again, it's a vanilla defense. It's a vanilla offense. Not a lot going on there. So he's going to be a fun one to watch. The Buccaneers, again, not a lot of people are talking about it, but Baker Mayfield's playing well down there. They've got a good offense still with Godwin and Evans and White at running back. Love White. He's fantastic from fantasy. He just puts up numbers, catches a lot out of the backfield, scores touchdowns. He's not a player that's going to put up 200 yards on the ground, but he just puts up fantasy points, and he's like a 5th-round draft pick. Great running back too. So year in and year out for the last couple, he's just looked great from a fantasy perspective. He's a monster. So Commanders going down to the Buccaneers. I think the Bucs will handle the Commanders in this one. I do think it'll be close. Tampa's a 3.5-point favorite, and again, a low-scoring 42 points. That one I could get a little bit more behind, but I think the Bucs win it by more than 3.5. I think they're just way better, and this is a young Washington team. Again, with the Commanders, Alex's point, Austin Eckler is going to be a player to keep an eye on. He went from the running back to draft 2 years ago, right? He was a top 3 pick in the draft. It was him, McCaffrey, and that was it. Like that was your 1-2. It was deciding between those two. He was that good. Now he went damn near undrafted, dropped all the way down to probably around round 12, 10 to 12. Really, really late pickup. Had a horrible year. I'm not going to defend him. He did not play well last year. But he's going to a new spot. He's with a mobile quarterback. He could take over that starting role very, very easily. I doubt he's out there. He's still a name, so he probably went late in all your drafts. But somebody to keep an eye on. If he has a pretty good game, people are going to want to trade him. They're going to want to get something for him for a late-round pick. So that could be something that you can either swing if you grabbed him or look to add somebody of his talent that was a 1st-round draft pick 2 years ago to a already good team that you already have a number 1 running back with. So if he does come back and show some glimpses of those years a couple years ago in San Diego or LA, consider making a move for him because you're going to get him dirt cheap early. The longer you wait, the better he plays. You're not going to get a steal anymore. So keep an eye on that game today. That could be a huge trade opportunity for you to really make a solid team for the rest of the season. And then tonight's game, Rams at Lions. This is another fun one to watch. Are the Lions going to come out? Are they going to play up to the pressure that they now have on them for such a successful year, the first successful season in decades? So how do they respond to that? Now that the expectation is set higher and the pressure is increased, can they still produce at that level? Rams, again, another team that is good, gets slept on. Two fantastic wide receivers. Cooper Kupp, I'm looking for him to bounce back. Later round draft pick as well. So if you snatched him up as well, that's a great play. Healthy with Puka, with Matt Stafford, and a solid running game there in LA. That's going to be a very good fantasy offensive team. And I think the same thing with the Lions. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a beast. Dude catches anything that's thrown close to him and has the ability to break every play open. So he's fantastic. This is going to be a great game, 52-point over-under, and for good reason. I expect a lot of fantasy scoring in this one. Start everybody in this one, from Laporta to Puka. Start them all. There's going to be a lot of good stuff to go around. And then Monday night, Jets, 49ers. This is going to be a fun one. 43-point total, and San Francisco is a 4.5-point favorite. Two fantastic defenses. First time ever a number one offense in the 49ers has started the year against the number one defense from the previous year. Never happened before, which is kind of crazy. So which one has downgraded? That's what we're going to see. Jets defense still looks good. No Hassan Reddick, which sucks, but I guess the guy just doesn't like to get paid. So show up, play your season, pick your next contract, and you're good to go. But instead, destroying your name, taking another year off when you're 30 years old never really works out very well. Ask Zeke and ask Le'Veon Bell how that worked out for them. So again, though, Aaron Rodgers on the other side, healthy. Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, a fully healthy Breece Hall, and I really like Braylon Allen, who they drafted later in the draft this year. Absolute wrecking ball to spell short yardage for Breece Hall. 49ers, again, you're going to start everybody. They extended everybody. Ayuk is going to be on a bit of a pitch count, they're saying. So if you have Ayuk, maybe hold off on him till next week, especially with the Jets defense, top two corners. That's going to be a hard one. Start Debo, start McCaffrey. And start Garrett Wilson. And Breece Hall, of course. I don't need to tell you that, but that's going to be a fun game to watch. A lot of hype on both sides. I can't wait for Monday night. I'm going to go watch these games here. I'm going to sit back, watch my fantasy teams dominate, and then Monday night, it's on. Can't wait. Hopefully you guys can't as well. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up. We've got a couple minutes till game time, so best of luck for your fantasy teams. Best of luck for your teams. Next week, we'll be back to dive into waiver wire ads, how to structure for the next week, what we've seen today. We need to recap what's going to happen in week one, way teams are looking, and how we adjust our fantasy attack to make sure that we're staying the best we can in these first couple weeks, because they matter a lot, and there's a lot of chaos going on as teams really get into a rhythm. So we're going to break it all down again next week. John will be home. He'll be on, and we're going to get at it. So good luck again today, and we will see you guys next week.